Hello all. Before we begin the video, let's discuss CloudFoundation. CloudFoundation is the premier online training platform to help individuals and organizations gain knowledge and skills in the ever-growing cloud computing industry.
So today we are going as a multi-level of approvals access request. I think I have mentioned. So today we are going to talk about task. What is task? Before getting into the task, just let me know what different type of task we have executed so far. Anyone?
Account aggregation, group aggregation.
Good. So account aggregation and group aggregation. Apart from that,
refresh identity cubes.
correct. And so refresh identity cube, prune identity cube. Apart from that, okay. So do you guys remember that full text index refresh task? If you have created a role, you have aggregated entitlement, if it is not appearing for the end user, they are not able to request. In that scenario, we will execute this task. I have told, right? Okay, now let's talk about task. So let's say you have built some process. Okay, you build some process like we want to update identity information. We have to aggregate all the user accounts on a daily basis. So it's a kind of process. If you want to automate this process, what will you do? So you have to rely on tasks. And apart from that, if you want to maintain any information within identity IQ, it could be identity, it could be application, it could be anything. If you want to maintain, if you want to update all the information, we have to rely on tasks. Okay. So because we have a lot of basic tasks which is provided by Sailpoint, like account aggregation, group aggregation, system tasks. So these are the category, whatever I said. So you can rely on this system task, which is provided by Sailpoint out of the box. And based on your requirement, you might have created some rule which needs to be executed on a daily basis. So you can create the task and you can customize the task as well to fulfill your requirement to meet the need of your company organization. It depends. Okay. So if you want to automate in some process, we can create tasks basically. Now you guys know what is account aggregation, group aggregation. So account aggregation task is all about if you want to aggregate any task from the target system. So we can create account aggregation task. Let me share my Sailpoint. Now go to identity. Now go to setup, task. So here you could see we have different type of categories. First, let's talk about this. So account aggregation, group aggregation, generic identity scoring system. So account aggregation is responsible to pull all the user accounts from the target system, target application. Group aggregation is responsible to pull whatever access permission is defined by application team. We are going to pull into Sailpoint. So we may have some generic tasks based on your requirement we have created. Okay. So these tasks I have created on my own. You can ignore this. Identity. So this is very important. So the first one is I have created, so you can ignore. Check active policies. So we have task name called check active policies. Can you go through the description and if possible explain? If we are going to execute this task, the output will be this task will examine all the identities, and if any violation found or if any violation decision has been taken in the identity level, then it will update. Okay. And if any identity found to be an violation state, so the policy violation will be triggered because of this task. Check active policies. Remember this. And Prune identity cube already I have explained. So what is the purpose of executing this Prune identity cube task? So if you want to correlate any entitlement on the business role, so we can execute this task. Refresh entitlement correlation. So apart from that, refresh group, this is one of the important tasks, but we won't execute very often. Because if let's say you got a requirement to create any group or subgroup, so in that scenario, we will execute this task, refresh groups. So this refresh ID, it's a customized one, you can ignore. Refresh identity cube, since you guys know, if you want to update, maintain all the identity information in the identity warehouse, then we have to execute this task. Each and every task will have their own standard properties. Let me open the task. Each and every task will have their standard properties. And based on the configuration, it will have their own arguments as well. Let's say if I want to update all the identity attributes, then I will enable this argument. If I want to refresh the manager status, then I will enable this argument. If you want to refresh all the identity entitlement for all links, what does it mean? Guys, are you able to understand what I'm saying? First of all, so if you want to refresh all the entitlements, which means I was referring this tab. If you want to refresh this entitlement tab for all the application, then we can enable this argument. So each and every task will have their own standard properties and their arguments. So you have to, based on your requirement, based on the business requirement, you have to enable, disable these arguments. So go through all the arguments. If you have any doubts, just click on this question box. You will come to know. If you didn't understand even, so we can talk about it. So let's talk about all the out of the box quickly. So I was talking about refresh identity cube. So the similar way, refresh risk score. If you have implemented the risk management in Sailpoint, and if you want to refresh all the risk score on all identities, then we can execute this task. So apart from that, yeah, for risk scoring, we have two more tasks. Again, it's related to risk management. If we are going to implement that risk, and each and every identity will have own risk score. So if you want to refresh on identities on application level, yeah, we can execute these two tasks. So this is system task. So if you want to send notification whenever the work item got expired or work item is going to expire, and you want to send reminders email, or if you want to escalate something, so in that scenario, we will execute these two tasks. So in real-time environment, this task will execute once in a day, and it's an automated task. But when it comes to refresh identity cube, again, it may be execute couple of times, or maybe based on your requirement, you can refresh on your own. You can execute on your own. So check sunset request. I think we already talked about sunset sunrise, right? Didn't we? So if contractor looking for some privileged access for a certain period of time, and we have to assign, so we can utilize this sunset sunrise option. Do you guys remember? We talked about that.
Yes.
So in that scenario, if you're going to execute this task, so this task will be responsible to send all the notification email whenever the expiration date is going to approach. So complete orphan identity request. So if you want to do the cleanup for all the access requests, like I'm referring this task, access request. Whatever access request is older than 30 days, 60 days, if you want to do the data cleanup, Yeah, we can execute this task. Complete orphan identity request. So we talked about full text index refresh. It's similar way. It's going to refresh for all the entitlements and role. If there is any indirect role has been assigned. And full text index already I have explained.
And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.